To the React19 podcast, where we bring awareness and support to the COVID-19 vaccine injured and discuss the science, research, and laws that affect all of us. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us again today. I'm Ann Forti, the host of the React19 podcast, and today we welcome Ernesto Ramirez, a devoted father who trusted official guidance that the COVID-19 vaccines were safe for teenagers. Many of you today listening in are no doubt familiar with his story. In April of 2021, Ernest's active 16-year-old son, Junior, who was an ROTC cadet with dreams of serving in the Air Force, received his Pfizer vaccine and 5 days later collapsed suddenly and tragically passed away. In the years since then, Ernest has made it his mission to share his son's story, seeking acknowledgement not only for Junior, but advocating for all those who have been harmed. He has become an outspoken advocate for greater transparency, accountability, and open discussion around vaccine safety, speaking in interviews, appearing before Senate panels, participating in legal efforts challenging censorship, and contributing to several documentary films. Today, he joins us to reflect on this unimaginable loss and the difficult road that has followed. Ernest, thank you so much for taking the time out to be here today.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Ernest, as you know, I, like so many others, have followed your story from the very beginning. You and I first met at the Defeat the Mandates rally in DC in 2022, and then I interviewed you shortly thereafter. And I still remember you saying in that interview, I had a wonderful life. I felt like a millionaire. He was my best friend. And so, although I know many people are familiar with your story, for those who may not be, could you just please briefly walk us through what happened?
Well, like I've said several times before, I was a single parent. I was so happy and proud to have my son, with me in my life. We did everything together. He was my best friend. Uh, we've done. I did everything that I wanted to do. Like I said, I've never had that father figure in my life, so I swore my life was to be dedicated to my son. I never wanted him to know what it felt like not to have a father. So, I did everything, baseball, camping, fishing, uh, anything that I felt a father should do with his son. So, like I said, we were constantly together. We made plans, what we wanted to do for the weekend. My daily routine was getting up in the morning, dropping him off at daycare, go to work, come back, pick him up, right away. My main goal was hurry up and get out of work to get to be with my son. And this was a daily routine. It's the only thing I had in life. He fulfilled everything I lacked in my world. And then, like I said, I coached Little League baseball for 8 years because he wanted to play baseball, and he was good at it. Anyway, then when this COVID uh, fear tactic they released on us, we stayed locked up. We didn't go out. We, wore masks when we had to go out, or always had sanitizer with us, things that we were told, the lies that we were told, just to be safe. Like I said, I would even come home from work. Before, I used to hug and kiss my child every morning before I went to work. As soon as I got home, another hug and kiss. I love my son. But when this came up, I wouldn't allow him close to me until I went, changed clothes, and showered, because I didn't want any, chance of him catching COVID. So then when they said it was safe for teenagers, I talked to him about it. And he said, "Yes, Dad, let's go get it," because I'm sure he was stir crazy. The only time he actually went out was for his morning runs, He would do 2 laps around our subdivision just to keep in shape for the sport that he loves so much. He was waiting for the time to go back to playing baseball. And as you mentioned, he was in ROTC because he told me he wanted to join the Air Force. He wanted to fight for his country, the same country that turned their back on him. Yeah, I mean, not his country, his government that turned their back because we've had, unfortunately, since then, we've had so much support uh, of me fighting back for justice for my son and everyone else. Like I said, when this happened, I thought it was just something that happened to us, me and Junior, no one else. Until I went to DC when Senator Ron Johnson heard I was planning to take a trip up there. I didn't know who Senator Ron Johnson was, but I found out that, he heard what I was doing and it
Well,
made me feel
let's
good.
back up. Finish your story. So he goes and takes the shot.
Yes. And then, everything was back to normal. I thought, he, my neighbor asked if she could take my son out to eat and play basketball with her son, which they were best friends. And I felt safe. He took that 1 dose and I felt he was protected. And she said they went out to eat, they played video games, they went to the park. She's a good Christian woman. She didn't leave the kids there. She stayed in the truck reading while they were going to go play. She told me they got off the truck and took off running to the basketball court. And that's when he collapsed. And she called me screaming, hysterical, and something was wrong with Junior. And I didn't believe it because nothing could happen to my son. That was my son. So when I got there, they were working on him and they wouldn't allow me in the ambulance, and I was hysterical because he wasn't responding to me. So I chased the ambulance to the hospital and they worked on him for a little bit there. And the doctor came out and said, well, your son's dead. You can go home now. And that was no way to tell somebody that I lost a son. He said it with no feeling, nothing. I went hysterical. I grabbed the doctor and threw him against the wall. So many different thoughts were going through my mind. I actually ended up walking home. I had people that knew me were following me. I chased them off. I told them, just leave me alone. I had nothing else to live for. So I was on the verge of suicide. And when like I said, they followed me home, they were worried about what I was going to do. I cursed them. I cursed God. I cursed anybody that tried to, comfort me in any way. And like I said, I cursed God out loud. How could he do this to me when I was raising a good Christian boy? He was part of the youth group. We went to church every Sunday. I told him we always had to be thankful for our blessings. And why would a loving and dear God do this to me? But just before I decided to take my life, I heard something in the back of my mind tell me, you can't do this. This is a sin and you won't go to heaven. And my plans are to prepare myself to see my son again. And then I realized I must still have some faith and that it wasn't God that killed my son, it was man. So that's when I started changing my way of thinking and started fighting back and speaking out. And like I said, people along the way asked me what my plans were now. I was in Austin, I believe, at the Capitol. And I said, well, something inside tells me to take it to DC. And that's when me and a friend of mine drove our motorcycles out there to DC. And that's when Senator Ron Johnson heard about my travels. And like I said, I thought it was just me and my son that were affected. And I had people donate money to help my travel, because I didn't have any money. And like I said, all these things that started popping up. It seemed like everybody was trying to make me think it was something else, and which I knew. Like I said, my first interview was with Ivory Hecker, ex-Fox reporter, and she gave my autopsy to Dr. Peter McCullough, who verified it. He was the first doctor to verify it was a vaccine. So more and more, it just gave me the urge to fight back. And when Senator Ron Johnson heard about it, he called me directly and asked if he could have a Zoom call with me, which I, felt honored that somebody and blessed that somebody listened. And so when I did travel to DC, after everyone generously had helped me financially, uh, I got there and I felt out of place because, I knew I was there for a purpose. I didn't know what exactly. And then I was in the lobby with my buddy. We're waiting to head to the meeting. And then I had this little skinny girl come up, with a smile. Hey, Mr. Ramirez, come over here. You're part of the family. I didn't know who it was. What is she doing coming talking to me? And how does she know me? Well, it happened to be Brianne Dressen, who became a dear, wonderful friend. And then I met Dr. Joe Walscott. I met little Maddie DeGarry, Steph, her mama, and so many others. And then that's when a light went up, and I realized it wasn't just me and my son. There was so many other people affected, and they're the ones that gave me strength. They're the ones that gave me the courage to fight back. And more, unfortunately, I've met so many others along the way. And every time, like I said, I'm on the verge of giving up. I don't want to do this anymore. I tell God I'm tired. I want to go home. Take me home. But then I end up meeting someone else who tells me their stories, how they were affected, or telling me thank you for what you're doing for us because they can't do it. And they're the ones that keep me up in the fight. The more I try to get out and walk away, I always get confronted by somebody else who thanks me for doing what they're unable to do. So I just continue, throughout the fear tactics that the government have been doing these
Well,
past
let's talk
years.
about that for a minute because you know firsthand the immense censorship that was taking place during this time. Everyone was censored and told, if you did put up an injury story, like I would just share injury stories and I was taken off like Vimeo, Facebook, anywhere you went, TikTok, you couldn't get the story out. All you heard was people are dying, get the vaccine, we're gonna have a winter of death and whatever, and no one could get their story out. And you experienced that censorship firsthand. And
Yes,
I
ma'am.
believe you did file a lawsuit. Yes? Am I correct on that?
Yes, it's myself, Brian Dressing, Nikki Holland, and a few others. Well, I was contacted by the group, and one of the attorneys asked me if about my censorship. She goes, "We looked around, and you were one of the main ones that has been censored across all platforms." I've had people take pictures, ask me to meet with them. In the beginning, I met, and all they did was take a picture of me, and they said, "Thank you, Mr. Ramirez, for meeting up with us." That was it. Nothing about vaccines, nothing about anything. And it was flagged automatically. This man spreads too much misinformation. And, that was surprising. So they asked me if I had any screenshots. Yes. And I started sending them some. And they turned around and said, "Oh my God, this is a lot." I said, "That's not even half." So I kept giving them more and more and more. My picture couldn't be posted. My son's picture couldn't be posted. I was already marked, so they just, the idea of posting a picture of me and automatically got flagged, spreading misinformation. Even the doctor where my son died at one of the hospitals here, he contacted me and said I was spreading misinformation and he wanted to meet with me. And I told him, I thought about it, but then I figured he's going to try to get me in some type of trouble. maybe tell the police I threatened him or whatever. So I just blocked him on everything. And even this last time, I was asked so many years that I've been marked as spreading misinformation. Now with the evidence coming out, is that label going to be removed from me now? I was
Right.
I labeled spread misinformation all these years, and now the truth is coming out. But like I said, it's been a heck of a ride. The fear tactics. I've had government vehicles blocking my driveway, and one of my friends, probably one of the only friends that stood by me all these years, he thought I was kind of paranoid at first until one day he showed up because I told him, in case something happens, I need a witness. And he drove up, and when he rolled up on the motorcycle, he goes, "Oh my God, is that a government vehicle right there in front?" I said, "Yes, I just need a witness in case something does happen." And when he drove up, he got off and he pointed at the truck. The truck just happens to drive away. And like I said, these fear tactics, they did none of them worked on me. Helicopters hovering over my house, all this stuff, and even the bribes that FEMA tried to do on me. There's not enough money it can pay me to keep me quiet.
Yeah,
There,
because didn't they say they would give you money if you would change the death certificate, that if you would just change it to that he died of COVID and not the vaccine, they would give you, I don't know, like $10,000 or something?
it started at $10,000, and they raised it to 35,000. And I told them, "You can give me the world twice over, and that's still not enough for me to keep quiet." And I also told them I would not disrespect my son. I won't falsify documents for financial gain. I figured two things. If I would have accepted their bribe, I would have probably been arrested for falsifying documents, or I would have had to stop speaking out on what happened to my son. And I wasn't willing to do either one of those. So, like I said, there's no amount of money. I mean, I'm not going to take money with me the day
Yeah,
I die. So,
I
mm,
think some people listening to this, or just when other people tell their stories, they just can't believe it. Like they are just like, "Oh, there's no way that would happen." There's this, I always call it, somehow the people believe the gods of truth live at the FDA, CDC, and NIH. And I'm going to talk about the last administration, but obviously every single person who's walked through the last 5 years, and it has been. I recently spoke somewhere at a city council meeting, and I said, "You can't imagine the horror these people have lived through. You can't imagine it because it seems so far-fetched, but it absolutely is 100% true." And I think that's the hard part of getting people to realize that. I mean, here you are. So you go to the conference, or the news conference there with Senator Johnson. That would have been November 2021. I remember watching that and thinking, "Oh my goodness, this is great. The information's going to get out there. These people are going to get help. They're finally going to be heard." And what actually happens is the next day, it's like, "Oh, Ron Johnson is the biggest purveyor of misinformation and all of this." And none of your stories are talked about. The only talk is about how Ron Johnson is a spreader of misinformation.
yes,
And
ma'am.
that just must have been so crushing to all of you.
I mean, like I said, there's a lot of evil up there in the government. People would stop me and talk to me and ask me questions. That's why I like to travel, because my trucks get enough attention where they'll stop me, and people have questions. They don't know where to turn to. And if we're listening to our government or national media, they are not getting the truth. And I guess they figure, well, I'm going to tell them the truth. But at the same time, I tell them, just don't take my word for it. You need to do your research.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
100%.
because I mean, I will give you all I can give you, but like I said, don't take my word for it. It's just like when I always walk around, thanking Jesus every minute, all the time. If I can still have faith in my Lord and Savior, everyone should. And that's why I tell people the same thing. They tell me, "You're always preaching about this or that." It's not that I'm preaching. I want you to focus yourself, because we're living in an evil world. DC is number one hotspot for that. I said, I can lead you to the door, but it's your choice to walk through that door.
Right.
Same thing with all this information. I can tell you the stories and all the information I have, but just don't take my word for it. I want you to look into it deeper because it's a big rabbit hole. I have people will stop me and ask me, "Do you have a minute? I ask you some questions?" I said, "It's going to take more than a minute because more and more questions are going to come out of our conversation, which is true because it's a long, long hole. And sometimes I wish I can get out of it. I wish I could close my eyes and wake up and pretend like nothing ever happened, but I can't. I'm here and I have to continue this fight. And because, like I said, it's not just for me and my son anymore, it's for everyone. I don't have to fight for your child or your grandchild, but somebody has to, right?
Right.
And if I don't do it, who will? Because too many people nowadays, they're either they have too much fear against the government, retaliation or whatever, or they're in fear that their families will be attacked or harassed in some way. I have nothing else to lose,
Right.
so I have no more fear. I can continue this fight to the end. That's just the way I see it now.
So here you are, we're almost 5 years coming up. What, let's start with the positive. What positive things have you seen? Any?
The only positive I can say that I've seen is they're starting to admit to it. They're admitting that their injuries and death have been happening. That's about it. It's coming out to the open, but that's it. I don't benefit out of it. No one benefits out of just their admitting the wrongdoing. Um, I'll see a positive when I see you actually trying to help somebody. When I see you trying to help one or two vaccine injured, that would be a blessing right there. I mean, we have too many snake oil salesmen that are jumping on the wagon here. I have a cure in this for your vaccine injured. And I will tell them, give me the paperwork. Let me see your research before I even offer it to anybody because I'm not going to take your word for it. But the next thing you know, they'll turn around and walk away when I ask for proof. And that's all across the board. So there's just to be
Yeah.
straight up, there's no cure. I don't care who says what, there's no cure. But we need to find somebody that's willing to do all the research, all the testing. We have several volunteers that want to be studied,
Yeah.
not just for themselves, but for everyone else. If we can
Right.
help one or two people, then there's a blessing right there. Maybe we can get something changed. Because every time I talk about vaccine injured, I think about my little Maddie DeGarry. I
Mm.
love that little
Yeah.
girl. And not one person has really actually turned around and said, here, we're going to do all the research and study, and we're going to help her get back to normal. And
Do you
that's what we
know
need.
what the current status of Maddie is? For people who don't know, she was in the Pfizer trials, and after her, I believe it was her second shot, her her health fell apart. I mean, she's in a wheelchair. I think she was fed through
And
a tube.
feeding tube, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
just this horrible situation. And the person who was the head of that trial knew about Maddie DeGarry. And that is the same researcher that said, oh, it's fine for teenagers. Oh, she just had a
yes,
stomach ache. I mean,
yeah,
it was quite horrific. And they've never been able to get the acknowledgement and the help that they've needed. And
no.
I mean, I think her mom, I think the last time I heard they were in Florida trying to look for help or
Yeah, she's doing treatment right now. I can't say there's been much change. She's just, trying to make it through another day, like all my vaccine injured. Um, and again, I'm going to throw the government in this because with the billions of dollars they send overseas for wars that really have nothing to do with us, we could use not even all of it, just some of it for our
right.
vaccine injured, to get some type of treatment, medical supplies, anything to help our injured. We
So
don't,
what would it look like to you? What would you want to see from, the CDC, the FDA, the NIH, what would you want to see for them to be accountable to what happened? I assume one of them start studying the injured, I guess would be one of them.
Yes, exactly. Start studying them and quit pushing everyone to the side. They figured if we don't hear or see them, it's not happening. Or uh, if they admit to it, I figure if they admit to it and show that they're trying to help, then they're going to lose money. And it's all about the money for them, not for us. Uh, if
Do you
they could
believe
actually,
this administration, the president aside, do you believe those that are heading up these agencies now, do you believe that it is their goal to want to try to help and they're just trying to find a political way to do, like a way? I mean, some of these people are stuck. I mean, do you think that the will is there? They're just trying to find a way to get it done? Or do you think nobody's interested at all?
well, see, now you're going to push me into, I've never been into politics
Right.
because to be honest, all my life, I believe politicians will promise us the world, but once they're in position, they forget about what they promised. I've always seen it that way. There are some good, very few good politicians that are trying, but they are getting beat down. And it's all a cult up there in DC. If you're not part of the cult, you will be shunned. So, I mean, they can do what they want. They can scream and yell us all they want, and they're not going to be heard. They're going to hold them down. They're going to step on them so they don't accomplish what they want to.
Well,
And
which is a good reminder for us to continue to pray for those. And
yes, exactly.
I do think it was significant that Ernest was one of the first deaths that was acknowledged, wasn't it, by the
Y-
FDA? That
Yes, sir.
it was kind of, well, I thought bittersweet, that, oh, finally, so I am grateful for those that are trying. And I don't think the public understands how deep the strongholds are in these agencies. I think, and like you said, yeah, I think there are some good people there who are trying to do something, but this stronghold is so great to try to move anything forward is almost impossible, which should also encourage all of us who are listening to not let up. Don't,
Yes.
I mean, people can think, oh, we just need to wait until, the next administration comes in. And I mean, the pharmaceutical industry heads themselves said, oh, well, we're not going to put any more research into vaccines until this administration is out and this or that. Well, what they're failing to forget is that you can take those people out, but you're not going to take away all the parents, all the people who've been injured and all those who are trying to advocate for the injured. You're not going to take us out of the picture. And I
Mm,
think that's why people have to be encouraged. Well, I guess I would ask that question to you. What would you say to somebody who's lost all hope and is just like, that's it, I want to give up? What would you say to encourage that person?
the thing is, I feel this way when I want to give up because I feel alone. I don't
Yeah.
feel like anybody's there. I have people, we stand behind you, we back you up. I don't want you behind me. I want you next to me. Together we can make a difference. It takes all of us. Don't just applaud somebody that's making a stand and screaming out. We need to all be part of that group, because that's the only way we're going to get anything done. We outnumber them. And so if we can stand up, I'm not calling for violence in any way.
Right,
I
right.
don't believe in that. We can take over our government and put the right people there for us because that's what we need. True Americans again that love their country and love their people. So we need to be able to be a voice loud enough. If I can go to DC and scream, sure, maybe they'll hear me. But if we all go to DC and scream, then they have to hear us. They're going to see, oh my God, look, these are people that are standing up for their rights. They're asking for help. They need their help. They have to hear us then. Like I said, I don't wish death on anyone. I never wish any type of injury, but I want justice. I
Right.
want I want our free country back again. I want to be able to live happy like we used to back in the day. So that, it takes more than one person. Like I said, one person, I can try to move a mountain, but if we all get together, we will move a mountain. So that's what it takes, just to have faith and hope. Like I said, it's hard for me to say that because there's several times have wanted to give up, but it's always my followers, my supporters. They're the ones that recharge my batteries. They're the ones that give me courage to continue the fight. So just try not to give up, try to be positive and reach out to one another. That's the thing is, when you stay alone, the world collapses on top of you. But if we reach out, then that's when we can be stronger and better people.
I think you're so correct in that. It's the log that's sitting, that gets kicked out of the fire that goes out, staying in that and keeping that light going. I think, I feel like so many people are already aware of your story, but if you're not, Ernest had a whole trailer with people's faces that were pictures of vaccine injured from all over, and you carted that trailer around. In fact, that trailer was my backdrop when I did a series on the COVID vaccine injury several years ago. That was my backdrop, and I will tell you, I was censored because somehow they're like, oh no, that background is Ernest Ramirez. I mean, it's literally, I'm like, wait, and so then I would try to change the background and I could post it. But if I left that background up, I couldn't get it up or it would come right back down. So,
Yes, ma'am.
you were out there, you get this trailer, it's on your truck, you're out there. And I think that's just it. People have to know that it's not that, posting on social media is not a good idea. It's good to keep getting that out there, but to keep showing up, whatever at, your local county council, county commissioners, your board of health, letting your senator or congressman know. For the people that I've worked with, congressmen and senators, they're like, if our phone's not ringing, it's not an issue. And so
Mm.
when your point is, hey, it's great that you're behind me and you're giving me a like on Facebook or something, but I need you to be doing, we all need to be doing more than that.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
people, that you're not just, congratulating me, but you are also showing up and other people are hearing you too,
Yes,
and
exactly.
so, and I
Proving
think,
that not everyone has fear, that you have no fear. You're speaking up, like I said, not for anybody, but for all the children, mainly because
yeah,
they don't have a voice. I mean, how many times have I traveled? I was in North Carolina helping the Hurricane Helene victims. I would have to plan few days ahead of time. I knew exactly how long it took to get there. But with my vehicle, it took me longer because every time I stopped to get a drink or fuel up, somebody wanted to stop and talk to
yeah,
me.
that is incredible. It's
Yes.
just an incredible vehicle, a way to bring awareness.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
I mean, I'm sure you had people who rolled their eyes, but at the
No,
same time, you probably had
not
more that
not
were,
not yeah, not that I have seen. Even when I was driving that trailer through Dallas one time, I had a car pull up next to me, honking the horn. I mean, like crazy. I said, "Well, he's gonna probably give me one of those special hand signals." And I turned to look, and he gave me a thumbs up, and a big old smile when he seen the trailer.
oh, yeah.
And so, yeah, so it's not, I really haven't got negativity out of anything I do. Another time I was coming back from, I believe, Michigan in this truck, and I was anxious to get home. I was gone for a couple of months, so I was driving a little over the speed limit. I don't want to say how fast, and there was a truck pulling a trailer. When I passed him, this truck actually had to be going over 100 to try to catch up to me because he wanted to look at my truck better. And I just happened to pull off. And when I pulled off, he pulled off at the gas station also. He goes, "Oh my God, I had to see your truck."
Wow.
He read the scriptures I have on it. He seen the decals about my son, and he shook my hand. He took pictures, and it makes a difference. It doesn't
It
matter.
makes,
Just you don't have to wrap your trucks like I do. Luckily, I've been blessed with a graphic guy that he does all my stuff for me, and he says that's the only way he can help
right.
the cause. He said I can't help you financially, but I can help you this way. And
Exactly.
like my mechanics, they work on my vehicles. They say they don't have the money, but they give me their help and support that way.
Right.
And it means a lot. People do their part in the ways they can. It's not all about money. It's just actually being there, supportive. Speak out. You don't have to, like I said, you don't have to wrap your truck. Wear a shirt. I don't know if you see this one.
Oh, yeah.
Anything to say anything, about your cause, and you may get some negativity, but I bring it like, either I'm planting a seed.
Exactly.
You don't believe what I say,
Exactly.
but you're listening,
Yeah.
and it's going to have you thinking. You're going to remember our meeting that day. That guy was talking about his son, or that guy was talking about vaccine injured, and I met this. So let it be like that. And then maybe they'll come around on their own. Don't force nothing on anybody.
Right.
I'll talk to them openly. They don't want to hear it. Thank you. Have a nice day, and continue to the next person. That's the way I see it.
You're so right. You're so right. Just doing whatever you can do to bring more awareness, move that needle. As you said, it might not be wrapping a truck. It's you helping out there. If you have money, great. Give it to. You can certainly donate to React 19. That all goes
Yeah.
out to the vaccine injured. Um,
Yes.
if you're really good at writing letters, share that and share it with your friends. Say, hey, send this out. Or if you're even if you're not comfortable with public speaking, because most of us are not. I mean, still, I'm like, oh, every time I have to speak. But just
Yeah.
just know that you are, like you said, planting seeds, and just go on your way. Just keep going. And I think that is just a very, very good message. And on
Yes,
that
ma'am.
note, I would like to ask you, what would you like your legacy to be? How do you want to be remembered?
Well, not I'm not worried about myself. I would love for my son's name to go down in history books, that he he volunteered, because he volunteered for the good of our nation, even though it was under the wrong reasons, the lies they gave to us. I want something positive to come out, not just, like I said, not just for me and my son, but for all our injured, because I feel we're all casualties of war, and we all should be remembered, not just one or two of us. All of us that have been affected by this
Which is
needs to
everyone.
be, yeah, needs to be remembered, because a lot of people call me still crying, upset. Their stories aren't being heard, or they're being ignored.
Doctors
They
don't
need
believe them.
they need to be honored also. They need to have their voices heard, and have somebody say, "We believe you." I mean, because yes, I am one person. They call me crying, hurt, not knowing what to do, and I try to bring them a little faith, because I am nobody special, but I know somebody. The good Lord and Savior will help you get through another day. Stay positive, and reach out to, like I said, reach out to one another, because that person you run into, they may look healthy, they may be vaccine injured. The bad words or negativity you feed them might be that little bit that pushes them over the edge.
Mm,
But if you give them a hug or a smile, or tell them good morning, how you doing today, that might be enough to dig them out of that hole. So let's try to uplift each other.
very, very wise words. So if people want to connect with you, let's see, they can do that on X and on Facebook. Is that where you're mostly found?
Facebook, X, Instagram,
Okay. I'll put
yeah,
your handles in the show notes.
yes, ma'am.
Um, because what are you on X?
Uh, it's at RGB Runner.
Okay. All
It's
right.
all the same all across the board.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
then people can donate to, I mean, because you continue to advocate and make trips and do these things. And so I'll put that website in the show notes as well. That's something, what is it again? The name of
Junior's Guardian Voice.
Junior's Guardian Voice, right?
Yes, ma'am. Like I said,
Okay.
I tell people to, a lot of people, they don't realize that people think I'm sponsored or whatever. I'm not. The only way I get anywhere is because my followers, my supporters. And also, I don't ask to donate directly to me at times either. You
Right.
don't have to just give me. You turn around, you can find a vaccine injured. Everybody has a fundraiser. Help
Ex-
them go through it, with
yeah.
whatever little bit, because like I say all the time, $20, you're lucky if you buy a lunch with
Right.
$20. But if
Right.
we all donate $20 to a vaccine injured, maybe they can get some medical supplies that
Yeah, I
day.
don't think people understand. Again, there is this lack of understanding that no, the injured truly have lost everything. I mean, you've lost a son, and those that are living with injury, some have lost, I mean, they've lost their livelihoods. They don't have a job. They've lost their entire life savings trying to get well. Some have been had to sell their home. I know one person was living in their car, and
Yes, ma'am.
they just and they can't get on because there aren't the appropriate ICD-10 codes for coding and what you need for disability or what you need for Social Security. It can take, if you do get on those, it can take so long to get there. And
Yes.
I just don't think, people understand. It's not like, if you have cancer or something right away, oh, everybody's surrounding you and let's do a fun run for cancer
Yeah.
or this. And
Yes,
I'm not
ma'am.
saying that there's anything wrong with that, but that doesn't happen. Nobody's doing fun runs for vaccine injury.
Nope,
And
exactly.
so,
Because I've said before, Junior was he was we belong to a big bike community. We always did benefits for cancer patients.
yeah.
Junior was a big part of that.
Mhm.
So the thing is, yes, we need it for the vaccine injured now too. If we can help donate, and like I said, not directly, just not just to me, not to just the vaccine injured, to React 19, everyone.
And anyone that you feel, I mean, obviously with React 19, it goes right directly out to the injured. But if you see another injured person who's doing, maybe they have a GoFundMe, they're telling you the truth. They're
Yes,
not, that, and any little bit can help.
yeah, because
Not
what
just
what
because
I
it
see,
shows that you care.
yeah,
They're like, oh, somebody is hearing me. I'm not alone.
yes, exactly. Because the thing is, uh, I see these commercials, donate so much money for animals, abused animals, whatever, which is fine. That, yeah, I understand that. But now we have more abused people than
Mhm.
we do animals. I mean, let's have some type of fundraiser for the injured.
Right,
Put it on TV, donate to React. I don't care. Just do
right.
something, because yes, it does mean a lot to them. I had one injured tell me, somebody sent me $100. I said, that's a blessing, baby. And they said, I can't believe it. But that's one time out of what, every 6 months or maybe once a year, but it does bring a smile to their face, because
Yeah,
now I can buy this. Because it's hard if I had $20, and I heard it quite a few times. I don't know if I should buy this medicine for today
right,
or buy me a sandwich. And it's hard to choose. A lot of us don't think about that. But see, I don't care. I'm not worried about myself. I'm not concerned. I get blessed every day. I have friends that come. As a matter of fact, I was sick for the past couple of days.
yeah,
They called, you need something to eat? We're gonna take you something. And I tell them, no, I'm okay. But we need somebody there. Each
right,
and every one of us. Our vaccine injured have been pushed aside. Even their own families are don't want to hear from them, don't believe their stories, even though they're injured. But everyone needs somebody that they can depend on. Just say, call them. Hello, how you doing today? Or you want to go to lunch with me? That's
right,
all it takes. You can
right.
put a smile on somebody's face, because they already felt like trash. We feel like we've been discarded. We're no longer part of the community. But if you can show a little love, show them a
Yeah.
little love one way or another. I'm not telling you to buy a house. Buy them a sandwich. Hey, that's a blessing.
Taking care of your neighbor. You in our last interview, I was just so struck. I mean, that was, 3 or 4 years ago. And that was your message back then. It's just been, just take care of those around you.
Yes,
And
ma'am. Exactly.
I think that's a good place to end as a reminder. I want to thank you so much for being here today, Ernest. Your courage and perseverance honors your son.
Thank you, ma'am.
It it does. And it's been a privilege to know you, to watch you walk through this. And I just want to thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate the time.
All right, everybody, go check out Ernest's social medias, follow him, and I would encourage all of you to do exactly what Ernest has encouraged us to do today. Go love your neighbor.